we're talking beer. So, I am here with Jim Jamison at Foggy Noggin Brewery, and which you may have noticed, maybe you can't tell exactly, but we're in his garage. And Jim, you've been running this garage brewery, awesome conglomeration that you've got, for how long now?
We've been open about 9.5 years now.
Okay.
To the public.
Okay.
So before that, for years, we were brewing in here, just trying to figure out how we're going to get this thing up and operating.
Right.
And it changed quite a bit because we had the brewery in this garage.
Yeah.
And we weren't able to do that, so we had to build the outbuilding where the brewery sits today. Which this would be a very small tasting room if the brewery's in here too.
Yeah. No kidding. No kidding. So before we go any further with this conversation, we need to talk about what we're drinking.
Well, what you're drinking right now is it's called Christmas Duck. It's a London-style porter.
Okay.
And that was batch number 2 in the Foggy Noggin archives.
Okay.
So it was a homebrew recipe that I developed in the 90s, and I used to call it Christmas. People should know this, but nobody will watch this. It was called Christmas Goose.
Okay.
And it was a Christmas present to all my friends. So I'd save like Martinelli's bottles and champagne bottles, and I would clean those out, and I would bottle it up and put a Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays or whatever it was, but it was Christmas Goose to you.
Right.
And that was it, and everybody loved it. And I changed recipe every year a little bit until one year I changed it, and every single person said, "This one is fantastic," and that's the same beer you're drinking today.
That's the home run.
So we changed the name because we wanted to have a beer named after Pac-12 school, and there's nobody with a goose as their mascot today.
Got it.
But there is a duck, which is pretty close to a goose.
It's very close.
And Christmas duck is kind of a delicacy, so it's very fitting.
So I'm just going to tell everybody in the world right now, this is my favorite drink that Jim has put together. It's amazing. I love dark beers to begin with. Okay, so this one's right in my wheelhouse, right out of the gate. But it is fabulous. It actually has kind of a smoothness that's very reminiscent of I'd say like Guinness. It kind of has that sort of. In fact, it's I'd say in a lot of ways it's an English porter.
Yep.
But it has a flavor that is unique and unlike anything that I've ever come across.
The big thing developing that beer is we wanted to finish dry and not sweet.
Right.
Because when you're drinking beers and they have that sweet finish, it doesn't make you want to really drink anymore.
Right.
It's got that glowingness to it, and we have a little roasted barley in there that dries it out, and it just gives you that nice crisp finish that makes you want to have another sip or another glass or another pitcher or
more, just more. Yeah, no, this is a fabulous. So I was actually here last year, and you were doing you had an event going on. You were actually doing a tasting through the years.
Those are anniversary ales.
Yeah.
So that's every March.
Okay.
And so next March, we have 10th anniversary. And everybody if you want it, you have to sign up quick. Only 20 people can attend. And we'll taste all 10 years of our anniversary. And it's a beautiful beer to age.
And I have to tell you, if you haven't seen that video, you've got to check that out because the place here is packed. It's just completely, everybody is buying tickets to get to that event.
It sells out quick.
Yeah, it's a fantastic opportunity to try everything that Jim has produced, and he's got some serious winners. So I'm going to tell you, so now you were just telling me you got a couple events coming up.
Well, we do have some events. This weekend, I don't know if this is going out, October 4th and 5th, we're in Anacortes at Beer on the Pier. It's a big Oktoberfest celebration, and they got the Oompa bands and everything. And then Bothell Beer Festival is coming up on October 19th. It's going to be underground in the Bothell City Hall, and we'll have 2 of our beers. That will be one of the beers. No, we're not serving that one. We're serving it this weekend. Okay. We'll have our Vienna Lager and we'll have our Bothel's F and IPA at the Bothell Beer Festival.
Gotcha. Okay. And there's one on the other side of the mountains too, right?
We're not doing anything on that side, but there are events. There's events every weekend.
Okay, I misunderstood you. You had another one coming up there. So, he's everywhere, and that's one of the things that's hard to keep up with him, is because he's constantly showing up at all of these activities and events, and so you'll see him all over town if you haven't already. So, walk me through what got you to this point. How did you decide that not only are you going to be a home brewer, but you're going to take it up the next notch?
Well, I said I was never going to brew. My wife bought me a home brew kit in 1992,
Okay.
and it was kind of frustrating because I didn't really have aspirations to brew. I was in that time, I had a beer newsletter that I was publishing, and we had subscription base. It was before the internet, and I'd mail out every other month copies. It grew up to 15,000 subscribers all over the United States, and I was focused on the Northwest beers. And there was so many good beers. I don't need to make another good beer. And she got me a kit, and I tried it, and failed, and failed, and failed. And I go, okay, it can't be that tough. I'm going to figure this out. So I got very serious about it, and I decided I'm going to brew one style, and I'm going to brew it and tweak it until I can make it really good. That's beer number one that we did, which is our English bitter called Bit of Beaver.
Okay.
And I perfected that in 1996, and it's still the same recipe we're brewing now. And so that's kind of near and dear to my heart. And that was number two of my home brew recipes. And so those were number one and number two brewings that we did as commercially too.
Excellent.
But as I got, my kids were growing up and going to college, and as they're getting older, they were kind of interested. This stupid thing Dad used to do, brew in the garage, is kind of cool. And maybe I could help them. I could learn about it. And they kind of got interested. And so when I bought the system we're brewing on now, which was set up in here, I was brewing every weekend. And sometimes they'd help me, sometimes not. They're getting more and more interested in it. And we decided, we're getting pretty good at this. And we're making so much beer, we had to give it a lot away. And everybody's saying they want it. They're waiting for their free beer because you can't sell it if you're not a commercial brewery. And we decided we're going to go for it. But we had to wait till our youngest was 21 because you can't be an owner in a alcohol producing company if you're not of legal age. So my youngest, when he turned 21, is when we opened up the brewery. And I want to make sure they're all part owners.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet. I love that idea. So now you kind of took it another direction. I mean, you mentioned all the Northwest breweries. There's all kinds of things going on, bubbling under the surface, as they say. But you've taken it in a completely different direction as far as kind of pursuing some of the old English recipes and going into some interesting things that I haven't heard of anybody else doing.
Well, so I don't want to be a me too, because there's some really good brewers out there, and there's a lot of good beer being made, and I don't need to make something that's kind of like theirs. And so when I decided, if we're going to do this, we've got to be unique, we've got to be focused and dedicated to what our craft is. Right. It's like any artist would do. They would be very focused on what they do, and making beer is an artistic endeavor as it is.
I will drink to that.
And as I was learning about beer in the late 70s, early 80s, I was sampling beers from all over the world, and I always came back to the UK beers, the Scottish, the Irish, and the British beers as being my favorites, for a lot of reasons. I like the balance, the flavor profile, the lower alcohol level, the less carbonation, so you get less filled, you don't get the bloating filling, you get more balanced flavors, nothing's dominant one flavor, you get everything. And that's really cool. I really enjoy that. And so that's where my passion's been to brew that way, although I'd like to drink Northwest beers and West Coast beers and German beers and Czech beers. I mean, I like a lot of beers, but if I'm going to do something, I want to be very specific and focused on what I do.
Right.
And so being authentic is really important.
Yeah.
And if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. So we source most of our ingredients directly from England.
Oh, really?
So there's a cost to that.
Sure.
And because their pH is different, their weather climate's different, soil composition, all those kinds of things are different. So you're going to same product, same barley, same hop is going to be a different product.
Right.
So we do that, and we even modify our water for brewing to match the water profile of a specific UK water source. And so brewers were great historians, and they documented everything. So that's easily available information.
Right. So now, do you have is there a mentor or somebody that you have connected with that has kind of helped you, get to where you are? How has that come about? What's the evolution there?
Well, as far as brewing, it was all trial and error. No formal classes. Nobody that I could say kind of taught me the ropes.
Yeah.
It was trial and error. Make a lot of bad mistakes, and don't do that again.
Hard knocks.
But reading a lot about it. There's a lot of interesting books that have a lot of value to them.
Right.
It can be boring to a lot of people, but if you're really interested in it, there's a lot of really cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as you learn the basics of sanitization, temperature control, all those different processes things you got to do to make a good product. Now you start learning about the British side of things. I read a lot about British beer history. So when I read about things, I go, hey, that'd be cool to make a beer like that they did 250 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so how can I get ingredients like that? So you have to start working your sources on it. And creative minds, sometimes I do exactly that duplicate. I mean, the beer I'm drinking right here is the duplicate of 1941 Whitbread. They called it a strong IPA.
Right.
Well, it's way different than any IPA you've ever drank before.
I will attest to that.
And it's the ingredients, and it's the water source, and it's the yeast that was in there. And so we replicated exactly how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
The cool thing about this beer, Britain was into World War II in 1941 for several years.
Yeah.
And taxation on beer made everybody brewing beers about 3% alcohol. And it's just because you couldn't afford it because of all the taxes. But Whitbread, for some reason, decided to do this beer at 7%, which was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
I bet they didn't sell a lot of it because it was expensive,
Mm-hmm.
but it was kind of neat that they took that strike out there saying, we really don't care about the cost of this beer or the taxes of the beer. We're going to do a beer out there. And so that's why we did this one. The clarity is incredible. The color's cool. It's got a great aroma. It's got even the yeast in here and the ester profile. Because I get like an orange zest kind of character to it.
That's what I was trying to describe. And so he actually gave me a flight to run through before we got started here. And that beer is probably one of the most unique drinks I have ever consumed. In the beer family, there is unlike anything else I've tasted.
So we do a lot of that too. So we'll brew to period styles, and let's do something from about the 1920s of a porter, and I'll find out what they were all doing. So we'll make our own version of all the ingredients they were using,
right?
Or we'll say we're going to brew that exact beer. And so we've got in a couple of weeks, we've got a 1823 Devonish porter coming out, which is unlike any other porter you've ever had. A lot of brown malt in there, so it's a lot lighter in body and color, but big in flavor. It's just it's pretty cool.
Well, that'll be fun.
So we love to do those things too. So both either exact duplicates or time period duplicates.
Okay. So now again going back to this, you're based in a garage. What was the process to go about opening a brewery in a garage? I mean, most people, this is kind of it either is a hobby or it's a business, but you don't do both in the same place. How did you come about that?
Well, being residential, so we have a lot of restrictions here, which you can and can't do. So we're unincorporated Snohomish County. So we're dealing with the county for all of our local jurisdiction. You've got the federal government who issues brewing licenses.
Right.
It's called the TTB, Alcohol, Tobacco Tax Bureau. And then you've got the Washington State Liquor Control Board. So you have those three entities you're working with.
Got a lot of regulatory bodies to deal with.
And they all want checks.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So our first was to get our liquor license, a permit from the federal government, and that took the longest period. At the time we filed, that's before you could file electronically; it was all paper, and we weren't getting any responses. You can't call anybody, and it turned out they didn't have a director in place at that time, and they weren't processing any home-based breweries, and they didn't tell you this. So as soon as they got a director in, I started getting responses.
Right.
We had it all drawn up. We had plans for the garage to be the brewery and the tasting room, and they denied us that because the rule was you can't have a common wall to a residence. You have to have some kind of separation. It's for taxes.
Yeah.
And so we threw up another drawing real quick saying, what if the brewery was detached and it was about this distance? And they said, resubmit your drawings and we'll make a determination in a couple weeks. So we redid our drawings. The brewery's about 60 yards back, and they approved it, and we built it, and that was that step. Liquor Control Board was good. They came in a site visit, they inspect, and they give you all the parameters of what you can and can't do. And as long as you can fulfill your obligation and pay your taxes and stay out of trouble, they're pretty good to work with.
Yeah.
And then the county, so now I've got residential use, I'm putting a business in it, so they have a lot of restrictions what you can and can't do.
Sure.
So many square feet, so we can only have 600 square feet dedicated to our business on my property. So the brewery is 200 square feet and taste room is 400. And we can't grow here.
Yeah.
We have to go for a variance of some sort. And I really want to fit in with the neighborhood here. I'm not here to be an eyesore or anything that's going to make them uncomfortable. And that's why we're really only open 5 hours a week. And it's like a cool garage sale kind of, but it's
fantastic. I mean, you have the coolest little niche business I've ever come across. I mean, it's just, you get to do something you obviously enjoy. You get to turn out a product that is second to none, and you get to have the family involved. So, actually, I'd be really curious. Tell me more about the family involvement. You mentioned your son turning 21, kind of being one of the keys to moving forward.
Yep. So when we did it, I want to make sure that all the kids were part owners, that have some vested interest in it, and then I can have them work at the brewery and I have to pay them, because when you're an owner, you don't get a salary.
Right.
So it's all family run, so we have no employees,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it very cost effective. So we have no outside employees, it's all family run. Over the years, we've developed where I've got 2 of my kids who are able to brew now. They can brew, and I can't tell them when they brew versus myself. So it took a while to be able to turn the reins over to them.
Right.
But they brew on Friday and Saturday, I brew on Sunday now. And so that's been really helpful. It helps us keep going. I plan about 6 weeks in advance what we're going to brew, get the ingredients here, and then I make the weekly list of what we're brewing, and they brew it, and they do a great job. My wife helps as well. She last time was labeling bottles.
Yeah.
And
This is like a full-on family operation. I mean, everybody's got a hand in this.
she does all of our tax mailings, and she will help in the taste room when we need it, and does festivals with me when we do it. And so it's a lot of work. My youngest son, his job was unproductive, unable to have a normal schedule a week, so it's hard to get him involved in something. So he's helping in the taste room a little bit more now, as he's got a more of a regular schedule, and he was helping clean kegs, which is not fun. So I think he's got interest in maybe learning how to brew as well too. So
Yeah.
keep them all involved.
That is just fantastic. So where do you envision this going? Are you just going to continue kind of in this little space, or do you just foresee somewhere going bigger?
Well, we'd like to never have to give this up.
Yeah.
And you just never know. I mean, there's just no development in this area is out of control. And so with zoning changes, and if it ever got pushed out this far, because we're only about 8 blocks from high density zoning,
Yeah.
if it got pushed out this far, all of a sudden all your neighbors are going to probably want to sell, and there's a developer to make this very dense housing very close. And at that point, you have to say, well, I want to be the only one left standing? Probably not.
Right.
And so what do you do at that point?
Yeah.
That could be 20 years from now, it could be 2 years from now. You never know. We also have interest in expanding, but always keeping this place in Bothell. We pursued a couple opportunities that just didn't work out. And we're not desperate. We don't have to do anything. There may be a day we have to do something. Right? Today we don't. I still like the idea of staying small. I think that you lose, once you automate it and they go up, there's so much hands-on work that you can't replicate. Sure. When you get some artisan bread that the baker only made 20 loaves each day, they sell out because they're going to wait in line for them. It's a little different than the 20 million loaves of a white bread.
Going through an automated slicer. Yeah.
Absolutely. You can taste that passion. And we hope every pint that you taste of our beer, you can taste of our passion.
Let's see. I had another question there, and I think the beer might be getting. So I know what it was. You do pretty much all of your own distribution, too, don't you?
self-distribute.
Yeah.
So we don't have a lot of footprints. About 90% of our beer goes right here.
Yeah.
So in 5 hours a week, we produce about 100 barrels. And so about 90 barrels will go right here on Saturdays, totally fine.
Yeah.
Pints, growlers to go, and then bottles. So that there's not a lot left. So in Bothell, we've got, we like to keep our local market because that's really where our customer base lives.
Right.
So we have 3 restaurants we're on tap all the time, every day, and it's a struggle just to keep them with beer sometimes.
Yeah.
Then I have some others that are a little expansion beyond that they get beer occasionally. They're every 4, 6, 8 weeks.
Okay.
Then I got even a little bit bigger expansion. They might get a once a quarter. And the furthest we can go to right now is Tacoma. We have one account down there that gets a keg maybe once a year.
The special release.
No, it's just frankly.
Whatever's handy.
But we get a lot of inquiries. People want to. There's a couple of reasons why our beer would not fit just any bar, any restaurant. First of all, our beer's carbonated, and a lot of places don't have all their beers pouring the same CO2 levels. But again, longer sitting there over carbonated. And so these beers are about half the carbonation of what you're typically find.
Okay.
And that's kind of the English carbonation levels. It allows the beer to come through and not be masked behind carbonation, which has got a harshness to it. But also, the high carbonation takes away some of your flavor that you taste.
Yep. And
so it's important that they pour it with the correct pressure. Second is knowledge, because these are different beers than everybody else's beer. Because your staff needs to know what it is so they can educate people who are asking about the beer. You don't want to just give them something and they go, well, this one tastes right, it tastes like, well, it tastes just right. You don't know what you're drinking.
Exactly, yeah.
And then securing kegs, because I want kegs back. I don't want my keg deposit. I want the keg back because I can look like kegs by the pallets. And we don't have a lot of room here. I don't really want another pallet of kegs.
It is a little cozy. You can't see the rest of the space here, but this is you can fit comfortably. What are you getting here?
It's 20 when the doors are shut in the wintertime.
Yeah.
Our capacity by the fire marshal is 20 people.
Okay.
So we would never go beyond our capacity.
Absolutely not. I can tell you that this is a really fun space when you have your tastings going on in here. It's kind of like sitting in your own living room at home. Well, okay, actually, it's more like sitting in your garage at home. But you're surrounded by a bunch of really excited beer fans who are here because they are passionate about interesting beer.
And they will learn.
Yeah.
And experience it.
And I think that the thing that's really interesting is when I was here for that event back in March, I learned more about beer and brewing in the probably 2 to 3 hours that I was here than I have learned in my entire. Well, I didn't learn anything about beer in college technically, but
You drank it.
that's different. But I learned more than I have ever been exposed to in actual beer knowledge in probably my entire existence. So, I mean, I've tried a lot of things, but I hadn't really had anybody talk me through the processes and discuss, kind of what goes into the thought behind creating a good beer.
And we just really make these events, we try to make them an experience. Right? It's not just come to those drinks of beer.
Yeah.
Let's have an experience you're going to remember. It's going to make a lasting mark on you. We've taken beers, we haven't done that one, but we've done a couple of our beers, we hold events where we deconstruct it. So you get to taste every grain individually that's in that beer. And then you get to smell, taste the hops that are in that beer.
Really?
And then I'll give you the recipe, and you can take a percentage of each of those grains, and you can put them in your mouth, chew it up, and then you can taste that beer, and it'll taste like you've never tasted before. And people just are wowed about it. We call it deconstruction of the beer. And those are very popular events too.
Oh, yeah. So you're like reverse engineering your drink.
Well, so the secret on how I do a new beer recipe is I do that. Is I figure out what grains I want to use. I don't know what the ratio should be. So I pull the grains out and I put 10% of this, 75% of this, and chew them together. Nah, there's something missing here, and that's a great way of getting that flavor right from your base flavor.
I never would have imagined you could actually put together a flavor that way. I would have thought that it would be significantly different, but I mean, the difference between wet and dry, I guess, is just water, right?
Wow, so 95% water, so
Yeah.
keeps you hydrated too.
Exactly. I'll drink to that too. Was there anything coming up or anything that you would like to share with everybody out there? Here, we're looking at the holiday season. I mean, we're at the beginning of October, and we've got Oktoberfest, obviously going out throughout the rest of this month, and then we have going into November, Thanksgiving, and the holidays. So what should folks know about?
Well, a couple things. So fresh hops are a big deal. And this year, we try to do fresh hops that are just local here, not the Yakima, local. This is a bad growing season for us on our property, but I have a loyal customer who grows hops 3 miles north of here, and we did one fresh hop batch with about 12 pounds of output hops, and that's going to be released a week from Saturday, so it'll be on October 12th.
Yeah.
Only one batch, so it'll go fast. It's always popular. And then we've got
The fact that you're doing stuff in such small quantities that, like, it's kind of like you're talking about. It's that fresh sliced bread, you can smell it.
then very popular beers are hazelnut brown. We'll be brewing that in a couple of weeks, and we release it in early November.
Okay.
It's one of our big award-winning beers, and we actually put fresh roasted hazelnuts. We roast them in our oven. We add them to the mash, and it's rich, nutty brown ale. It's just delicious.
That sounds fabulous.
And then our busiest hour of the year is Thanksgiving Day. We're open for 1 hour from 2 to 3 on Thanksgiving. And this place we have people in the line outside because they can't get in here.
Right.
And we're only open an hour, and it's a fun deal. Everybody's getting growlers or an excuse to leave the relatives. We gotta go to the store, get cranberries or whatever it is.
Is it too early to put my order in now?
And then December, we don't have the date yet, but we always have all from November, Thanksgiving to New Year's, we do a Northwest Harvest event, and we're collecting food donations and cash. And last year was the most generous our customers have been, and we had a bounty of cash and food that took Northwest Harvest. Took several trips to get it all there.
Fantastic.
And we do one day with Santa. And Santa comes, and you get a picture with Santa. We just ask you to bring something for Northwest Harvest. And we try to stay up on it. We print color pictures for everybody who gets that picture with Santa. And Santa is pretty good gifts to the kids that come out. And there's always a lineup. I think he comes at 1 or 2. I can't remember. It'll be on Facebook when he's going to be here. But his arrival, everybody wants to be here for that.
Well, and the kids can also get a Christmas beer for the folks, right? Isn't that how that works?
That's a fun event, though. Pictures with Santa here.
Right. Excellent.
He sits right over there in that corner.
Perfect. Okay. So, well, that's the lineup. Jim, I really appreciate the time. This has been really fun. Thank you so much. And how can folks find you? What's the best way for them to locate you?
Well, so Facebook is probably the easiest service on Facebook. It's Foggy Noggin Brewing.
Okay.
3 words. Foggy Noggin Brewing. Our website's foggynogginbrewing.com. There's a link there to get to Facebook, to Instagram, to Twitter. There's also email. And if you want to subscribe to our monthly email list, just send us a note saying, add me. We just sent one out today. So it shows you everything that's going on for this month. All the events, got hyperlinks if there's tickets involved, so you can buy your tickets. And then there's also links to some things. We've had some great exposure. We were on Evening Magazine this year. We were on Seattle Refined this year. We've been in Sunset Magazine. We've been in Vibe Magazine. And we've got links to all those kinds of things in there so you can kind of read about some of the cool things. And then we have a link to our merchandise store because, just drinking beer is one thing, but what if you're drinking beer in a cool shirt like this or wear a hat like this? It's a great conversation starter.
Absolutely. So you do not want to miss out on subscribing to that list. So make sure that you plug into that one. That's where you get all the rest of the good info.
And you only get one email a month.
Yeah.
I'm a spam hater,
Yeah.
and so I'm not going to send you 2, 3, 4. Here you go, 1.
Right. Excellent. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Jim.
Thanks,
Really
Dennis.
appreciate it.